welcoming viewers around the world, viewers in Massachusetts, and viewers all over the social media. My name is Ronald, and I am hosting the show called The Dialogue with the Candidate. Dialogue with the Candidate, it's a show that MCTV, which is Multicultural Television Network, is created to have the people running for office, the candidate, they can have chance to come here and to share about their political agenda. They can share about the strategy and things they plan in order to improve people's life. So we've been like to the South Shore, and now we are moving to the North Shore. And one of the city we are gonna focus on tonight is Everett. And to talk about Everett in terms of who's running for office, we have with us Gerly Adrien. Good evening, Gerly.
Good evening, Ronald.
Thank you, Gerly, for accepting our invitation to be part of the dialogue for the candidate. And I believe not many people from the audience of MCTV know about you. So how about you let people know who is Gerly Adrien?
Yeah. First, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, everybody out there, to get to know who I am as a person. So my name is Gerly Adrien. I'm a daughter of Haitian immigrants who came to the U.S. in the 1980s. I was born about nine years later, and so my parents have instilled this service and God and community in my spirit, and I've carried that throughout all my life. I grew up in Everett, which is why I call home and home to so many, and why I continue to fight and serve that community particularly. I went to Bentley University. I went to go work for one of the largest banks in New York for a few years, and then came back here because I wanted to come home and help people here in our city. And now I've been working in finance, so the last 8 years I've been a manager. I've been working in healthcare in Cambridge. I'm also a small business owner. I have an ice cream shop with my husband in Somerville, and have been doing my MBA for the last 3 years at Boston University. And so when you talk about who is Gerly Adrien, I always want people to see me as a person who loves God, who loves the community, and who loves to work really hard.
Okay. Thank you, Gerly, for to let the audience know who you are first as a person. And based on information we find on the internet, and last year you were running for state rep, and now it's a change for the city council at large. Why this is why the decision now for city council at large versus the state rep?
So for me, the issues are still the same, right? So housing, education, the streets, transportation, crime, all similar very issues that happen in our city, the district, and across Massachusetts. Last year when I ran for state representative, I lost by 168 votes, which was a big, hurtful moment for me, but it let me grow and got to see, the city and the district still wants new people to represent them. And this year, I wanted to get more involved on the local level.
Okay.
So I started attending the city council meetings. So they happen 2 times a month on Mondays at 6 p.m. So I would attend them, and there'd be issues that the 12 councilors would bring up. And I was so surprised at how much power the councilors had that were making decisions on everyday people's lives. And for me, I was like, wow, you have so much power in that seat. And there were so many matters, for example, I talk about the whole pre-K pricing issue a lot, and the streets, Everett Square, who, as a developer or small businesses getting their licenses, I was shocked that city council had the right to approve those or reject those. And meeting after meeting, I would be so upset at the decision that they made, even when so many people would go up and speak. And they still just didn't go with what the people said. And I said, well, then what is the role of the councilor? It was so frustrating. I was texting my own councilor every week about an issue, and he would just do something else. And I said, I'm so tired of this. I'm going to say that if you're a city councilor, you serve the people first. You talk to the people, you understand what they want. And that's when I realized I want to change so much on the local level that when I get to, if I ever decide to run for state rep, I could say that at least on the city level, we have fixed a lot of issues that are impacting people every day.
Okay.
And that's what made me want to say, I'm going to run for city council at large.
Okay. So I assume that is it through those meetings, as you see all those issues, I see on your website, you put that you running to continue the fight to improve education, to improve, economic, let's say, growth or development, and also improves people's lives. So if we focus on education, so what needs to be improved in Everett? Like, I don't know, the school system, would you like to enlighten people? What is the issue in terms of education Everett is facing?
Yeah, so this year, the school system right now is going through, I call it a life-changing moment. We have had a superintendent, the same one for about 20 plus years, and this year he resigned. So we are in the opportunity where we can elect someone new to come in and transform the schools. Our schools right now are 70% people of color, so it's filled with Haitians, Latinos, and Asians, and in a time where it was never like that before. And so right now we have people on the search committee who are going to pick someone new to come in and do that, and I've been a part of that, and I've been seeing who they're going to pick and add an input to that, because I want someone to come in who cares and who's going to put the children first. I talk to a lot of students all the time, and they always tell me how there's a lack of access to just a guidance counselor, someone to help them apply for college, or just other opportunities for their lives. So then what happens is when they graduate, there's nothing for them. And that goes back and impacts the family, because like when I grew up, I always had the dream that I was going to come back and take care of my family. I was going to graduate school, go get a really good job, and buy my mom and dad a house. That was my dream. And I'm noticing there's a lot of students from Everett, they don't have that, and they're not able to do that. And their parents have to take care of them, and then that's another financial burden. And so with the schools, literally, when you see the students, they're not inspired. The graduation rate is very low. Everett schools are not considered one of the best across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We're actually low. It's really surprising to see how low we are, especially when it comes to the test scores or even, like I said, the graduation rates. So for me, I think with the schools, we need somebody like a superintendent to come in, as well as when it comes to funding. I'm big about money because I feel like I understand the language of business, but that's what I wanted to study, because money impacts everything. And with the schools, we're short funded by like $6 million, right? And so when you look at schools like Cambridge and Somerville, where they're able to, per student, fund about $18,000, Everett is at 9, 10. That's half. And Somerville and Cambridge is right down the street. It's not fair for those communities, for their children to be able to have a better education, where we're not able to have that, and we're literally neighborhood cities. For me, that's a crisis in itself. I always wonder if kids of color are always given less opportunities than other students, and I see it every single day within our school system. And so hopefully, on the city council level, when I see difference between Somerville and Cambridge, their city council, their mayors will actually fund schools. They'll say, hey, this is important to us. If our education system is broken, our kids are not learning, they're not growing, this hurts our city. Everett needs to step up and do the same thing. And so for me, like if I'm on the council, I'm going to make sure I fight and promote that first. How much money that's coming into the city, if it's $1 or if it's $2, we gotta help our schools, particularly our students.
Okay. Based on the explanation you give, helping the students, and what is the link that has with, could you make the link it has with economic development for Everett? You see what I'm saying? So, for instance, are they able to find job or job with, I don't know, good quality? Because One of the things that I'm going to focus on based on the three aspects on your website, which is the quality of life. So first, in terms of the economic development, so would there, lack of education link, impact indirectly with the economic development?
Yeah, definitely. We see that a lot. I mean, people who I talk to a lot have to work 2 to 3 jobs, right? And we hear that a lot of times in our communities. And so when I'm a big promoter of education, right? Because I believe that education is an opportunity where you can get out of being low income or poor, right? I believe that that's an opportunity in itself. So when students are not able to graduate or they're not able to get further opportunities in education or even go into trade schools or vocational schools, then they are not able to produce and help their families or take care of themselves or be able to afford the high rent. And so they're not able to find good jobs, right? Nowadays, when you have to apply to a job, you're applying online, and it's not to a face, right? And so if you don't have the same qualifications as everybody else, who else is applying, then you're not going to get the job. And as many jobs as there are, you're just going to keep applying, and then what's going to happen, right? There's no income. And in Everett, the median income is $42,000, right? Okay. For me, that's about $3,300 a month, right, for a person. If the rent is $2,000 to $3,000 a month, right, that's almost all your paycheck. And imagine if you're a single mother, right, or a single father, taking care of 2 or 3 kids, right? How are you able to afford food, childcare, transportation, healthcare? Like, how in the world are you able to afford that? So again, for me, when you look at cities like Newton or Needham, their median income is like $90,000. And you ask why. You look at their college education levels, you look at their master levels compared to Everett, there is no comparison at all. So that's when I think about education, I think it goes back to economic development. We also need to look at in the sense of what is happening in our cities versus other cities. So we just got the casino. Yeah. And so everybody thinks, oh man, Everett must be rich with money because of this casino. And I'm so concerned about where this money is actually going to because, our mayor made a deal with the casino when they came in that instead of paying like a percent of taxes, they would have to pay a lump sum of money for 4 quarters of the year. And so that money, ideally, the mayor promised the voters that it was going to go to taxes. And this was like 4 or 5 years ago, right? When Everett was still a certain way. And now that Everett has changed, for me, this is my understanding of it, the mayor doesn't want that money to go to taxes anymore. He wants it to pay pensions for city hall workers, where city hall is not as diverse as Everett. And so that money, again, for me, is not helping the city, right? Because for me, if I see the taxes are helping the homeowners right now in Everett are more people of color, which is really good. But if they're not able to help the taxes, then the homeowners have to pay out of their pocket, and it goes back into poverty in a sense where people are not able to afford to take care of like healthcare or their food or childcare or even expand in their child's learning. And so that's a big concern for me. But in terms of economic development, like I still want to make sure that Everett people get good jobs. Like if there are opportunities like the casino coming in, that they are a priority, and that they don't get low-paying jobs. I've seen a lot of people who were offered $12, $13 jobs, while other people were offered $18 to $21 an hour jobs.
Well, why is that? What do you think makes what makes that different? Because we have the minimum wage. Why it's that?
I have personal stories where people seen it, not for me, but people were turned away because they said they didn't have a college degree. Even though they had the job experience, but because they didn't have a college degree, it goes back to education. Right? One of the reasons why I've been going to go get my MBA is because I never want an employer or a person to tell me because you don't have your MBA, you cannot apply for that job. And that's why for me, education, I'm a big promoter and making sure that you go get it, even if it's going to kill your time, but you never want anyone to tell you that you're not qualified for something just because you don't have it and other people do. So for me, when I saw in Everett what was happening with the casino jobs, they were telling people, you don't have a college degree, you can't apply for a job that's more than $50,000 a year. And I was so shocked to see that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So thank you, and I would like to remind all the viewers you are listening to the Dialogue with the Candidate. Dialogue with the Candidate, it's an opportunity for the candidate to explain about the issue their city is facing, and they can lay out their plan and their passion and how they're going to tackle those kind of issues. And for that purpose, we have with us Gerly Adrien. She's running for City Council at large for Everett. So we've been talking about issues with education, economic development, and her as a person who's running for this position and what she would like to accomplish. So I have to say congratulations, because I believe you're past the first step, and now you're going to the second step, which is going to be the final one.
Yeah.
And as we're talking about the issues, and you mentioned about improve people's life. I know it's broad, and one of the things I'm looking at for Everett is housing affordability.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at the cost, like for people to rent a house. I see like in the planning paper that the mayor did in 2018, and that they give an example like 2-bedroom about 2,300. And like if you want to buy a single family, it's very high. And we know based on affordability, it's like the money, the household income, it shouldn't be exceed the 30% of their income. So how you plan to tackle the housing affordability in Everett?
So I am a very grassroots person, and if I was the councilor today, right, I would take a wholesome look at Everett as a whole, right? There are so many people who are renting, and there are so many people who have bought homes, and there's so many people who are looking to buy homes, right? Those are and then there's a lot of people, sadly, in Everett who are homeless, right? So those are the 4 buckets. And I would try to figure out 4 different solutions for them. So for example, the homeless people, right? I would take a survey, the names, right? Try to understand why they're homeless, right? And see what needs or benefits that we could provide for them. I'm really big about, in Everett, we have a lot of empty homes and buildings that are not being used. And as a finance person, for me, I would think that these homeless people, if I can help build them up as a person, right, and find them some type of opportunities, because I think there's always an opportunity, especially within the city, even if it's maintenance or helping them to figure out how to just like do landscaping, how I could turn that into an opportunity for them, and then they give back the money back to the city in terms of money for the city for housing. Because when people see them on homeless, especially in our downtown Everett, it's a bad reflection of our city and our elected officials. So for me, that's like one bucket of a solution that I would do for them. For people who are renting, like me, why are the rents going high, right? A lot of landlords feel like their property taxes are really high, so they have to subsidize that back to the tenants, right? So why is that? That goes back to the tax rate, which is approved by the city councilors. City councilors approve the tax rates that go affect the landlords, that go back and affect the tenants.
Okay.
I would first understand, why is the tax rate so high to the property owners? Is it because the city of Everett is short of funding when we have a new casino who's giving us a whole bunch of money? Or what is the reason for it? I want to deep dive into the budget and understand why the taxes are going high. But for me, I would actually provide an incentive to landlords where if they actually keep if they actually kept their rent rate at a low rate for the tenants, I would provide them a credit where their taxes would go down. So then they wouldn't have to raise the rents that impact the tenants. I'm a landlord as well in Philly. I have a condo in Philly, and I don't charge market rate for my tenants because for me, I think it's wrong. I could make a lot of money and do that, but for the sake of why? I believe that housing shouldn't be made into a business where it's about a profit and a loss. Housing is a right. People need to live and have good places to stay at. And so for me, I never understood that whole market in that sense. And so that's what I would do with that bucket. With the property owners, again, to understand why their taxes are going high, I want to make sure that their rates are not that high so that they can live there and be able to stay there. Because what I'm noticing too is a lot of people are leaving Everett, moving to Lynn, right? Or moving farther away from Boston where, again, it has
it's more affordable.
Exactly, but then where are all the good jobs? The jobs are in Boston, right? They're not in Lynn.
Yeah.
So they're driving so much farther, that's more gas, that's more pollution to the environment. It's just more negative impacts to that, right? And so I see that as another issue that we need to fix. And then the last bucket are, so we have the property owners, we have the tenants, we have the homeless people, and then I forgot what the other bucket was. But for me, again, it goes back to housing, how we need to work with all the parties and understand why they're doing such matters as such. Like, why are they causing the rents to go high? Oh, the people who want to buy homes. A lot of people, like, I would love to buy a home in Everett, but it is really expensive, right? $400,000, my mortgage would be $2,700 a month. Right? I would have to make at least $100,000 to be able to afford that, and I don't make that right now. I don't. So, and a lot of people don't, and that's not fair. And so I think we have to figure out how can we help those people who want to be able to buy homes be able to do that. On the city council level, that's a little bit hard, but what I do think that the city council has power to do is to work with the local banks and to set up events where people can interact with the banks and try to figure out what the issues are for that. And I don't think we have that going on in Everett right now.
Okay. So you mean like, is it access to information, people in Everett?
Just access to capital, right? As a small business owner, I talk about this all the time. Just access to like banking and money and loans. People of color, we don't have access to that. Like, I know for my husband and I doing this business, we wanted to open another business in Jamaica Plain. And luckily we were able to have access to capital to be able to do that, but I had to go through a lot of hoops to do that. And I just think about other people who want to be able to do that. So think about just buying a home, like you have to have a credit score of this, you have to have this, you have to have this. And you know, sadly, because we don't have a lot of generational wealth, we're not able to just, we're starting from zero. And you know, I think in Everett, for me, if I was a counselor, the people are a reflection of me, because this is my city, right? That's part of my job. That's how I see it as. And if my city is struggling, that's a problem with my leadership.
As you mentioned, like if you were like you be a counselor, so now, for instance, you know, everything is about teamwork.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna like team up and work with the other council?
Yeah, I hear.
If you're like,
you know, so I hear that question a lot, and people say, Gerly, how in the world, if I elect you, you're not gonna get along with anyone. Why would I pick you then? And I'm saying, wait, so you'd rather pick people who just do nothing all day than somebody who's going to at least try to work hard? I think in all that I do, I could be the tough person that asks a lot of questions, but at the end of the day, I care about people. And I think at least on the council, the colleagues care about people too. And we can find some type of compassionate middle ground where, you know, if I need your help, I need your vote on this. Everybody in Everett who I don't get along with, they will at least say that Gerly reached out to them to have a meeting.
Mhm.
Every single person I do not get along with, I personally have humbled myself and I reached out to them to say, let's have a meeting. Even when there was a decision on the council that I didn't agree with,
Mhm.
people who I cannot stand, I messaged them and I said, I want to understand why you want to vote this way, but let me tell you why I think you should vote this way.
Mhm.
So I think I can do that because I do that all the time. And I don't have a big ego where I say, I'm not going to talk to you because you're da-da-da. I don't do that at all. I think, I mean, in business, right? If you have to get something done, you have to literally work with the other party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we are about to be at the end of the show, and Gerly just, explain about his way of doing things and the way he can work as a team with, even people we don't share the same ideas, but we can compromise to some point and do the work for people who are elected or people who vote for us to eventually elected. So you have people who voted for you, and now you're in the second round,
Yeah.
and it's the opportunity for you to make the case
Yeah.
why people would vote for you now to
Yeah.
become the city council at large forever.
I think, thank you so much for taking the time to have voted for me either from this past September or last year. To vote is so important, and for you to get up and actually vote for me means so much to me. I thank God for that because that's really important. I think the reason why I say this all the time, we need to have good people in office who are not scared, who are going to make the best decisions, and who are going to actually show up. Electing somebody shouldn't just be about, when it comes to election day, they just show up and they smile in your face and they just show up to your event and there's no solution or there's no real help. In all my life and all that I've done, I've literally been showing up. I've been fighting, breaking down walls, saying that no is not going to be the answer I'm going to take. I work hard, and for my city, I'm going to work hard for you. We need to have people who are going to do the same. We need to change because if we don't, this city is going to kick us all out eventually, and I don't want to see that happening. That's why I say we need to vote for me. I say this all the time because it's not just about me, but it's about our community as a whole. I am a Haitian American. I'm so proud of my parents, and what they always say is that we gotta make sure we have the good people who are fighting for you right in front, and that's what I want. I wanna make sure that it's not me, it's all of you who are there in that council meetings who are helping to make good decisions. Because it impacts your kids, it impacts your grandparents, your mom, your dad, it impacts everything. So again, I hope and you will come out and vote on Tuesday, November 5th for me, Gerly Adrien, because it's time for us to say, you know what, enough is enough. We matter, we have a voice, and it's time for you to listen to us.
Thank you, Gerly, and thank you all the viewers. It has been a pleasure each time when we come here to present the show called Dialogue with the Candidate. We have had with us Gerly Adrien, who's running for City of Everett as City Council at Large. My name is Ronald, and I am the host for the show Dialogue with the Candidate. We'll see you for the next show. Have a good evening.
Bye bye.